Now I know if you're like most golfers, you would like that extra bit of consistency, you'd like that extra bit of yardage, especially with every single club, but the driver in particular would be absolutely fantastic, wouldn't it? And rotation has a massive emphasis on the outcome of your driver shots. People don't realise how important rotation is when it comes to hitting golf shots. See, whether we slice it, whether we hook it, draw it, fade it, or hit it dead straight. Rotation has a massive influence on the outcome of this. And a few of my students who've come to see me this week have been misinterpreting rotation to quite some degree. A lot of them have been thinking, right, okay, I really need to make sure I'm getting this rotation into the top of the swing to hit some really good shots. And when they do this, they see even more of a slice, even more of a hook, sometimes the tops, you name it. And they always wonder, hang on a sec, I'm doing the rotation right, I'm really exaggerating this. I couldn't exaggerate this anymore. Why am I still seeing that slice? Why am I still seeing the golf shots go 20 yards shorter than they should be? Why am I seeing them go miles to the left? And it is all down to the way you rotate in the golf swing. And that is exactly what we're going to be diving into in this video. For those of you who are new, welcome to the channel. My name is Harry, PGA golf professional, transforming golfers worldwide down here at the Golf Projects. And by all means, get involved by dropping a comment down below the tips or drills video topic you would like me to cover in a future one. And in this video, we're going to be answering a question that came up a couple of weeks ago from someone who was really suffering with the fact that they're really trying to exaggerate this rotation into their swings, but they were still noticing their slices creep back in their game. Why weren't they totally eliminated, with the odd one going too low, too far to the left as well? And I've noticed this, obviously, like I mentioned last week, a few clients came to see me misinterpreting this concept of how we rotate efficiently in the golf swing, especially the driver swing. And that's what I want to be looking at in this video for you. A lot of golfers, I can imagine that a lot of you out there are making the same mistake of trying to get into the correct rotation sort of position in the golf swing, but not realizing that you're doing it almost totally wrong. You might be making things even worse for you. So I think this is a really important topic today that we're going to be covering. So I highly recommend staying tuned to the very end so you've got everything covered with the simple drill that we're going to be looking at to help you step by step getting to the right rotation into the top of the backswing for you. Kicking things off then, what we notice is, think about it this way, when rotation happens into the golf swing, a lot of golfers, I noticed this last week with my clients, they came to see me and I said, right, okay, put your hands across your shoulders and show me how to rotate into the golf swing, into the backswing. And what they were doing was they were setting up like this as normal, thinking, okay, yep, great, this looks really good, and they would go like this. Now, what's the problem with this here? Let me just do that again. The problem with this here is you can see that it's making my shoulders, rather than continuing on this almost angular motion here, we're noticing that they're getting very lateral in relation to the ground. And also another thing is, if I was to do this here, you can clearly see that my swing center, so we'd like to call this the center of the chest, or the sternum, is going too far away from the golf ball in this position here. So that's the two main problems with this, and this affects massively with the strike, because if we were to do this with a club, just to show you now, if I just get to the top of my swing and do this, obviously shoulders get very lateral, I have flat position here, and then I'm going to have to come over the top and round to try and recover from this, get my swing center back before making contact with the golf ball. And this is very difficult to time, which is why strike goes when you're doing this exaggerated motion, thinking you're doing the right sort of rotation in your golf swing. But also you can see that when I do this here and I just swing to the top, I'm just going to grip down this so you can see where the club position is as well, is that when I do this here, you can see I'm almost rolling my wrists on the inside as well, getting into this position here, and you could say, well, hang on a sec, isn't that supposed to be fixing the slice? Well, actually, it is causing the opposite effect. It's making that slice take place sometimes, because if we're getting too far on the inside, rolling the wrist in this position due to this motion here taking place, really exaggerating that rotation, we're going to get very stuck, almost too connected in this position here, very lateral. So it's only going to cause us then to come one way on the downswing, and that's that over the top motion, very too steep onto the golf ball. So you may find that when you exaggerate this rotation, it's easy to get a center strike with the irons, just because you're producing a much steeper angle of attack into the golf ball. But the driver, we all know that we want to be hitting nicely, beautifully up onto the golf ball to see much straighter, further drives. So how do we get the right rotation in the driver swing then? Well, kicking things off, the whole idea of getting rotation and turning into the top of the backswing for you is we want to be ensuring that we're noticing that our shoulders are staying on this plane. And you can see here, when I do this motion here, my shoulder alignment is almost on like a 45-degree angle, as opposed to being very vertical. A good example of this is if I was just to take the club out here in front of me, very similar to a baseball swing, it's all good making a swing very laterally like this here, if the ball was teed up really high, but it's not. We tilt over like so to hit a golf ball. So our swing has to be on a 45, almost 45 degree angle, which means that our shoulders have to be on a similar tilt as well. If our shoulders come this way, we get very lateral, and that's when this reaction takes place, this bad reaction. So it's really important that we get a sense of an awareness of where obviously this lateral motion is taking place. Okay, that's the baseball swing. Right, I'm getting that turn there. Okay, how can I make a change from this position then? Because it's a totally different position to hit a ball from. So all I want you to do to start off with is place the club across your shoulders like so. Set up like this here, and I just want you to see if you can make a nice little shoulder turn, imagining this circle on the arc. So a good way to put it is imagining that you've got a massive circle going around you on this 45 degree angle that I mentioned earlier. So you've got the circle here, easy way to put it. Let me just get a circle to show you. Okay, that's about 45 degrees. It's not lateral like we've just noticed there. It's on this angle here, not vertical, somewhere in the middle. When we come to doing this then, we want to be making sure that this club here is almost pointing towards the golf ball as we start to just move into this top of the backswing position here. As we turn into the top of the backswing, you can see there that driver head. Now, if I was just to swap this just to make it easy for you to see, that butt end of the club now is almost pointing towards the ball there. And what is this also forcing me to do? Have you noticed from this angle yet? Well, if I just take the club out in front of us here and I just get that to point towards the ball, I'm actually almost twisting upwards, aren't I? I'm not going too lateral like this. I am almost twisting upwards and away like this here. It almost looks like from here I'm feeling like I'm staying on the front side of my body here rather than transitioning this way onto the trail side. If we transition too much on the trail side, causes this action here. If we feel like we're almost keeping that little bit more pressure onto the lead side, it encourages us to stay more on this tilted angle here, this 45 degree angle that we mentioned earlier. So after doing a couple of drill swings doing that, you've got the good sensation of where those shoulders should be. Now take the club and get that same feeling, imagining that swing circle is up and round. And we're just going to take the club now, and I want you to make a start just from past the golf ball like this here, and I want you to make a swing just to about halfway point where the lead arm would reach parallel to the ground. So as we do this, we're just trying to encourage those shoulders to stay on that tilt. We're just turning into this position here. The worst thing you can do is start to do this with a full swing, because then it's very easy for us, especially with the driver, to revert back to doing this motion here, because we swing very fast with the driver, and the faster we swing the club, we are more likely to move back to our bad habits that we've been doing. So we're just going to set the club into this position just ahead of the golf ball, and then from there we're just going to bring this up to that 90 degree angle, trying to feel this 45 degree angle, obviously with the club going along that arc, but also the shoulders as well, imagining you've got like a stick or the club shaft pointing at that golf ball for you as well. And you can check this after you've done this to see what you think. Yeah, that looks nice. Anywhere where the butt end of the club is just pointing under the golf ball is great. From here now, we've got the positioning correct, but how do we actually get the body to freely turn into the backswing? If you watch me do this bad motion like we did at the start, taking the club away, arms across the shoulders like my student was doing last week, we were doing this motion here. And what do you notice about this? There's an awful lot of upper body rotation, but not a lot of lower body rotation happening in the golf swing. So the importance of this is that if we can start to switch on and allow the lower body to do its natural thing, it's going to be so much easier to get this natural turn that we want in the driver swing. This moves us on to stage 2, where we've gone through stage 1 trying to feel that positioning of where we want the club to be. Now it's trying to get the lower body to start to work more in your favor, to make that position easier to perform whilst looking at the golf ball and when you're going to be hitting some golf shots doing this as well. So that moves us on to the second step, where I got some of my students last week really trying to allow their lower body to open up. The feet were very much what we call internally rotated into the center. So when I say internally rotated, it's anything going in towards the body. Like my feet here. You can see my feet are almost internal. You can see that they're almost pointing at each other. This is very exaggerated. My student was more like this here, and that made it very difficult for him to rotate. So although he was doing the positions very well, when it came to hitting a few shots, making a few swings doing this, in fact 2 bigger swings, we're reverting back last minute to this motion here and going too far away from our swing center, getting very lateral. So rather than having your feet internally rotated, just let them flare out like so. Allow the knee joints just to let themselves rotate round a little bit. Feel that motion taking place. Feel where the pressure in the feet are as well. You know, allow some body movement to take place doing this. Now when we start to set the club more in positions, feeling this shoulder movement taking place here, it's easier for us then to bring this club into position like so. You should feel a lot more stable, you should feel a lot more confident doing this, because you think, hang on a sec, this is so much easier for me to set the club here and I can just turn through and hit the golf ball. And that is exactly what we did with my last student last week. I learned after the first few sessions not to go straight into full swing. So after the stage 1 and stage 2 that we've just spoken about, positioning and then allowing the lower body just to do its thing, flare the feet out, relax, let it flow. We just got the club set in position here. A couple of shots doing this. And don't get me wrong, it's not the best of strikes, obviously, as you can tell just from the TrackMan, but this is where we start to get used to this motion. That's the first shot, getting used to this. So I'm not expecting you to get used to this already. It's going to take a couple of shots for you to get used to trying to set the club in that position there. But imagine it as a set. If we can set the club, everything else is going to be much easier to take place in the golf swing. So I'm just going to click off that screen because I know that was quite low, but it's a fairly straight shot, a tiny bit of draw taking place there. But if I was to hit another one now, doing less of a pause at the top of the swing, just to show you what this looks like in almost full motion as we get to the top of the swing and swinging through, feeling those two things, positioning of the club and allowing the lower body to do its thing, flaring the feet out. Okay, here we go. It was a little bit to the left, but there was not a lot of curvature on that shot. And you can see there as well that it's a 3/4 swing, if that. I wouldn't stress about the direction of the golf shots for the time being as you're getting used to this, because even for professionals like myself, it's quite tricky to do those two things at the same time. Allow that lower body to relax and flare out those feet, as well as getting the club set in that angular position on that 45-degree angle that we've been looking at. Once you've got used to this, this moves us on into the final stage, the final step that I want you to cover. And this is only when you've got used to taking at least 20 to 30 shots doing this, setting the club, pausing and hitting on the way through. You can try to do that all in one motion if you wanted to, but don't go into full swings just yet. So for step 3, stage 3, the key to this one here is making sure that you are not going to revert back to this motion here and going back to that lateral shoulder plane at the top of your swing, because that is the one thing that we cannot afford to go back to. We can't afford to revert back to this, because otherwise we're going to start seeing those slice and hooks taking place again. So I want you to take the club back down on the ground for now. And I'm going to get you to take your hands and place them either side of the body like so. When you come to setting up in that normal posture, like we did with the hands across the shoulders, the idea here is just to start the golf swing, we're going to be feeling like the lead hand is going lower as the trail hand is lifting upwards. And you can see here, I'm getting this what we call extension in the right side of my body and flexion into the lead side of my body here. And this natural tilt is going to help me with two things. Get that angular motion that we want into this position here, but also it's going to ensure that I'm not going to go this way. Because what is this causing me to do? It's causing me to create more of an angle between both of my shoulders. You can see my right shoulder's lifting upwards, my left shoulder's tilting downwards. So as I start to add a bit of a twist to this, feeling like my trail hip is rotating not away from the golf ball, but almost feeling like it's staying towards the lead side. Watch the difference here. So this is the trail hip going away from the golf ball, sets us back into this position here. If I get the trail hip to go towards this lead side, feeling like it's going towards the lead heel, you can see here I'm staying very over the swing center. I know the ball's very far forward in the stance, so it'd be somewhere here, but you can see my head and my sternum hardly move. So when it comes to doing this in the golf swing, it's going to make the position so much easier to do, but it's going to allow the lower body now we've got that switched on, to connect more with the upper body and have the swing sequence taking place in a much better manner, which is going to make things so much easier for things like strike, club face alignment, club path, you name it. You're going to get more of a natural golf swing doing this. So combining the three, we thought about step one. Let's call them steps rather than stages. Step one is thinking about that positioning. We just focused on those shoulders, getting that shoulder tilt. The second thing we've worked on is ensuring that our lower body is more flared out rather than internally rotated into the middle. We're flaring them out, allowing this motion to take place, allowing that lower body to do its thing rather than staying very static and still. And the third step, final step that we just covered just then, is just ensuring that we're getting this natural tilt, obviously with the lead hand going down, the right hand going upwards like this here, as I'm twisting my trail hip towards the lead side as well. And if I just combine those three together, it sets us into this great position. And then as I just go a little bit extra, I can turn all the way up into the top of the swing here, and it makes it so much easier to set the club in a great position. And with regards to the downswing, how much time have we got to think about the downswing? What, half a second, and what's that? At all. So if we can set ourselves into this great position at the top just by doing those three things to help you turn correctly into the top of the swing, it's going to make things so much easier for you to perform that downswing. So I'm just going to show you what this looks like in full action now. I'm thinking of those three things: the shoulder movement, I'm allowing my lower body to do its thing, I'm thinking of this twisting motion, this tilting motion taking place, combining the three, keeping it simple, full swing. Here we go. Pretty nice shot, a little bit to the right. I could feel like I was getting a little bit more of a heel strike because I thought I was just standing a little bit too close to that one, and those tee pegs are a little bit too high for me. These are quite new actually, so I'm going to try one more for you just to see if I can get that centered strike with this. Just standing a bit too close on that one, so I'm going to stand a bit further away. Same swing, I should see a much straighter golf shot than that one. That sounded better. Much straighter golf shot, a little bit to the left, but I would take that out on the golf course, and I know you guys would as well if you were slicers of the golf ball suffering with this movement. So go ahead, give us a try. By all means, comment down below the tips or drills video you would like me to cover in a future video, and please do consider subscribing as always, because it would help me grow my channel and produce great content like this for you to watch. Thanks for watching, stay tuned, lots more to come. We'll see you next time.